Well, hello there, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're safe and well. In this video we're going to take a look at what it takes to set up a brand new HFT competition course from scratch. So let's get on and roll the titles. So I'm here at Cambridge Gun Club in Cottenham near Cambridge, and I've just been doing the final checks on a brand new HFT course that we've set ready for our very first competition tomorrow. So I thought, since I've got everything out of the way, it might be interesting just to talk you through what was involved in setting this course up, so that you get an idea of what goes on behind the scenes if you just sort of turn up and shoot HFT and you don't get involved in course setting or any of the organisation or anything like that. So I'm going to go through the steps that we went through and just show you what was involved. So this course then is set to align with the UKAHFT rules, which is a 30 peg course, one shot on each of 30 targets, 2 points if you knock the target over, 1 point if you hit the plate, 0 if you miss the plate. And in these rules, in section 14, you've got table 1. I'll show that clearer on the screen, which designates what targets you need. So the first thing, bit of equipment that we needed then was obviously the targets, and we bought a starter set, or say the owner of the gun club bought a starter set of targets from flopover.co.uk, which consisted of exactly 30 targets in the right number of different kill sizes to align with table 1 of section 14. We also got the peg numbers in that set, and also the 6 signs for the positionals that I'll explain later on. So the targets were the first thing. So next, obviously, to reset the targets, you need 30 lines and 30 winders. And surprising how long it takes to make up 30 winders when you're attaching the line sort of 50 meters or more of the line, and that takes a good couple of hours in itself just to make up the winders. Obviously we needed some regulation pegs, enough of these to set round the course. So that was the next thing on the list. The targets come unpainted, and generally I've always used this line marker paint, yellow for the faceplate, black for the kill zones. So all the targets and all the numbers all had to be sprayed before they were put out on the course, because they come just bare metal. So obviously that takes a while to do that as well. We needed to actually design the course and decide where the pegs were going to go, and so to do that you need to set down a firing line, and we used blue rope. We used 2 100-meter reels for our firing line, so we've actually got 200-meter firing line in total, and I'll show you that when we wander around in the woods later. Obviously the targets need to be set out at the right distances, so tape measures and a marked line with all this line's marked in 1 yard intervals and at 5 yard intervals, so we can use that for making sure that we set the right size targets out at the right distances within the rules. And last but not least, we're in the woods, and everything in the woods grows, especially when you've started to get a little bit of rainfall after it's been dry. So you need your gardening equipment and your machete to make sure that when you put the target down and you come back the next day, you can still see the target. And one item I missed, obviously you need to mount the targets on something that's not going to move in the woods. So you need various target mounts like stakes and pallets and blocks and things, so that you've got something to attach the target to. Obviously you can attach your targets to the ground, but then you've got to be very, very careful that you clear the grass well enough so that you don't get any blades of grass in the way of the kill zone. So here we are starting at peg 1 then, you should be able to see the target head there, and you can see this this blue rope that we use for the firing line. And what we're going to do is going to take you on a bit of a walk through the woods, and we're going to be following that line. We're up to peg 2, and we're going to pop round these trees here. Now what we did is obviously we set the line round the trees in order to take advantage of the bits and pieces that we need to set various pegs. So we needed to make sure that we had 4 good stout trees for the supported shots, and some open areas for the unsupported shots. So you can see us firing line trailing through the woods. So this is a very young wood, so the trees are not that tall, so it's very difficult to put elevated shots up the trees. So we had to make use of the facilities that were here, and you can see here an example of these telegraph poles that were placed for mounting the machines that shoot out the clays for the shotguns. So we were able to screw into those, so we needed to make sure that the firing line came within a reasonable distance of those. And so when we came to a suitable tree, we marked those, as you can see, the taller trees without any of the lower limbs, so that we could use these for the positionals. So you can see here that this tree is for the supported kneel or stander, and you should be able to see the target out there ahead, which is on a bracket that I made on one of the silver birch trees. Now this wood is enclosed on, it's quite a big wood, lots of potential. It's enclosed on 2 sides by some earth mounds to protect the wood from the skeet shooting field that's on the other side, and from obviously from the shot from the clay pigeons and stuff. So it's important to us that initially we bought the firing line close enough so that we could make use of these mounds to get some elevated shots in. So I'll move across here. You can see on the higher mound there, you can probably see that we've got the shot up the mound. So that gave us a little bit of variety in the way we set the shots. So step 3 then was to determine where we were going to put the pegs. As I mentioned, there's 30 pegs to lay out. As I mentioned in the last section about the firing line, when we set the firing line, we had to identify the positions where we were going to, the locations of the ideal trees where we were going to put the positionals. So we needed 4 good stout trees, and we needed 2 open areas for the 6 positional shots. So then it was a case of going round and selecting where we're going to put the pegs. Now that might seem easy, that you go and you just put the pegs out and lay them down. Well, one thing is, obviously we needed to try and space the pegs out as much as we could, because we didn't want shooters on successive pegs being on top of each other. But also, I say, this is quite a young wood. It's not a plantation wood. The trees have all been planted purposely, haphazardly, which is good from a course setting point of view, because it prevents people from using the distance between trees to range find, and it makes setting target traps easier. But it's bad from the point of view of trying to find a clear path to set a target at a full distance. Say if you want to set a target out to say 44 yards, you need to make sure that the view of the target is clear from where you put the peg. And say it being a young wood with lots of low branches and everything, that was easier said than done. So that took quite a bit of time to get those 30 pegs in. So we're up to step 4 then, which is where we finally start putting the targets out. Now we spent a considerable amount of time, planning the course, putting down the firing line and the pegs, and working out where the course is going to go, and where the pegs are going to go, and where we can possibly put the targets and see them from the pegs. So putting the pegs out, you obviously need a plan for putting the pegs out. You don't want too many of the same size kills one after the other at the same sort of distances. So you've got to sort of like ring the changes, make it a little bit different, try and put some targets in amongst the trees, some targets out in the open, some in the shade, some in direct sunlight, some in areas where they're going to be affected more by the wind than others, that sort of thing. So it does take a little bit of thought. It's not just a case of, oh, here's a target, we'll stick it there, on to the next one. It does take quite a bit of thinking about and a bit of time to get it all set up. Another thing that that we have to think about when setting up the targets is that we're not all right-handed shooters. You have to make sure when you set the target up on the peg that it's clearly visible both from the right side of the peg, the left side of the peg for a right-handed shooter and the right side of the peg for a left-handed shooter. And something that I've not had to contend with when I've set courses in the past, because it's been a while since I set a HFT course. We've now got the stick class, of course, and that means that you know, as well as shooting on the ground from the prone position, you've also got to make sure that all of the targets are visible and easily accessible for the stick shooters. And you know, personally, I found that was the biggest challenge in setting this course, particularly as I mentioned before. It's a young wood, there's a lot of low branches, and it did take a while trying to sort out where we were going to put certain targets so that they could be seen by stick shooters as well as prone shooters. And then after all that's done is the final course check. Now I've got this this course checking spreadsheet that I use to go around and just to make sure that the courses I set comply to the rules. And also while you're checking the course, you have to also check that the targets are still visible, because obviously things grow around you. So you need to go out and what I've done on this course, what I've been doing this afternoon with this course, is going around with my mat and my sticks and a rifle and basically laying down at each peg and looking through the scope, making sure that there's nothing in the way. When we started setting this course and planning it, there was hardly any grass at all, but we've had a dry spell and then a couple of rainy days, and the grass has shot up out of nowhere, so we've had to go around and with a strimmer and with my trusty machete to try and cut all the little bits of grass that have appeared that are getting in the way. It gets to the stage at times that you're crawling through the undergrowth on your hands and knees with just pulling up by hand a few blades of grass that appear out of nowhere in front of the scope. So now everything's complete as it can be. Just one thing that I missed actually, that is not related to this course at all, but is related to the competition. I also had to go up out to the airgun range and set up a zero range so that competitors have got somewhere to check their zero in the morning before the competition. And so I've put out like paper targets at 25, 30, 35 and 40 yards so that they can check their zero, and obviously put some pegs in as well. So we've got an undercover zero range with about 5 or 6 pegs and 4 targets for zeroing. And also out there as well, just in case we have to have a shoot off, I've put 3 targets out for the shoot off that are in accordance with the rules. One is a 15mm kill, one's a 25mm kill, and one's a 35mm kill, and now set out the relevant distances for those kill sizes. So that's all been done again as well. That's the final thing. Outside of setting up the course, obviously there was all the admin associated with it, like getting some target cards made up, setting up the booking in process where people can pay their money, get their scorecard. And also things like, I think the club needed to get some pin badges for prizes, and we needed to sort out what we were going to do about the safety brief and the score, announcing the scores and the awards and that sort of thing. So there's all those extra little bits and pieces that all come into it, all part of the administration. So before I finish then, I just thought I'll wander around the course, take a few shots of some of the targets so you can see the variety that we've got set up on this course. say the competition's happening tomorrow morning, so hopefully we'll actually get some people turn up to shoot, and hopefully they'll enjoy the course and find it challenging. But one thing to note here, if you do go to these comps, then bear in mind, there are a lot of volunteers behind the scenes that do all this stuff so that you've got the course in place. So hopefully after watching this, you'll be a little bit more aware of what work's involved and appreciate their efforts a little bit more. So let's go and take a look at some targets, shall we? So first off, here's peg 3, then stand only positional. You'll see that the short peg denotes that it's an unsupported stander as per the rules, and got a nice open area and a nice flat base here, so there's no problem getting a standing position. There's no obstructions or lumps or bumps or tree roots in the way to prevent you from getting a nice stable shooting position. So we've got a short mini keel peg here. You can see the length of grass behind the keel, so you can see how much growth we had. If we'd left that grass, that target would be completely engulfed. So we've had to trim quite closely to make sure that when you're in prone position that you're not going to get any grass in the way of the keel. Here's a good example of a longer shot where we've had to be particularly careful where we position the peg to make sure that the stick shooters can see under the boughs of the tree and actually see the target from placing their sticks directly above the peg. This is a good example, this peg, of the variation that we can get in these woods, because the way that the trees have been sort of planted haphazardly. You can see that we're only about 20-30 meters from the last peg, and the trees, this area is completely open compared to the last area, so that we get the sun in and also a little bit of wind in to make the peg more challenging, or make the target more challenging for the shooters. Here's another long shot that we managed to jam in between some trees with some bits of open areas between the in amongst the groups of trees. It's actually a beer glass target. This peg is a good example of where we've had to be careful where we've actually placed the peg so that we can get a clear line of sight in between the trees. And as you can see, we've managed to find this lane through the trees, a clear lane, so that we could set the target up, and you can clearly see all areas of the target faceplate, both from if you were shooting sticks and also from the prone position on the left and right of the peg. This target faceplate is actually, I think it's a basset hound. No, it's not a basset hound, is it? It's one of those sausage dogs. It's a sausage dog, whatever they call them. Another example of a nice stout tree that we've selected for the positional. This is for kneeling or standing, and you should be able to see the target out there amongst the grass, which is a circular target. Then we're back in the open for an ideal space for the second unsupported positional, which is shot kneeling or standing. So we've got a short peg denoting that. You can see, should be able to see, if you look in the centre top of your screen, you'll see that it's a diamond target. Here we have another mini kill set up, so it's a 15mm diameter kill zone set up. So it's on the ground but under the boughs of the tree, so it's framed by all the trees. Hopefully that has some impact on how people assess the range. Here we have another mid-distance target, and I think this looks quite nice, the way that it's framed by all the trees. It's quite nice to have the trees all quite close together and the boughs so low, rather than having all your targets completely out in the open like you often get in a more mature wood. Here we have our first sort of raised inclined target, and we tried to set this one up so that it's silhouetted against the sky, all in an effort to try and affect the range finding. This is the last one I'm going to show you then, just as a variation. The target, I don't know whether you're going to be able to see it, but the little square dark area in the centre of your screen, the target's sitting there. It's actually a fox or a wolf, and it's sitting in the shade, the two targets either side of this, the preceding peg and the one after, the targets are both in the sun, so trying to sort of add a little bit of variation from sun to shade to sun. Well, that's all I have for this video then. Bit of an ad hoc one. Say, I got my work finished in the woods, finished checking the targets, and I just thought, oh, I'll get the phone out and just make a quick video because, you know, some of you might be interested in seeing what goes on behind the scenes and what it takes to set up a course. So yeah, so there you go. So hopefully you found that interesting. I'm sure some of you will, and informative, and hope to see you on the next one. So from me, bye for now.